Do you ever feel, since you have your own studio and you do everything in your own studio, do you ever feel more like an engineer and a computer geek than a musician sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah. I sort of have to wear both hats.
Yeah.
For a while I had a full-time guy that was just here, and I realized I was like, I'd rather just mainly be here by myself. I mean, when I'm working on the record, though, I have, a lot of people around in terms of other, obviously, writers and musicians. So when I'm tracking, vocals or guitar or something, I'm engineering. So at that point, yes, I feel like a engineer. But I don't know, I kind of like engineering when I'm tracking those guys because I've done it both ways. I've had an engineer sitting there, and sometimes it's just faster as a producer if you're engineering yourself because you don't have to tell the engineer, okay, stop, okay, go to this bar, no, not there, over there, no, okay, punch in here. There's a bunch of extra wasted energy when you're working with an engineer when you're tracking. So I actually prefer doing it myself. I've had engineers over. Sometimes, if I'm tracking drums or percussion, I'll actually hire an engineer to get a great sound, place the microphones, do the EQing so that, I could do it, but I want to rely on guys that do that day in and day out to make sure it's the best sound possible. And then I'll be like, okay, yeah, you got the sound. Let me sit down and have the controls now and punch the guy. Go get a coffee, But then, when we get into mixing, it's definitely, I like to collaborate with my mixing engineer, just kind of give him a direction in the beginning. And then I'll go away for a few hours. Let him do, get some initial sounds together and ideas and let him create.
And you're talking about Bob Horn?
Bob Horn, yeah. Then he calls me up and says, okay, why don't you come by and, we'll start tweaking. So then maybe for a while he'll go away. And I'll just start tweaking or rearranging or doing whatever. And so it's definitely a collaborative mix effort when I work on my records. So I like to get in there.
So obviously when you first started, you didn't have the cool studio and you didn't have, the whole gamut.
Right.
Since you first started, how has technology impacted you either for the good or for the bad in your songwriting and the whole process of going through an album?
Well, I think in the recording and mixing process, it's just amazing what you can do. I listen back to older records, like, man, I wish I would have had what I had now. I would have done this or that or whatever. But those are what they are, and they're cool, they're great. But we just have so much more available in terms of interest to making things better and interesting.
Yeah.
I guess better is relative. Not to say that everything now is better than the 70s or what. I'm just, let's just say it's different. But I like it. I guess it's, you can realize more things that you have in your head now than, used to be not even possible. I think it's great. I love technology when it works.
Yes. You mentioned your previous albums, the older ones. Ever thought about going back and revisiting those, remixing, remastering?
I've actually thought of completely re-recording from scratch the Long Night Out record. I've always wanted to do that someday with a band because that record to me was always supposed to sound like a real band, even though it was programmed. I was programming it to pseudo sound real. It didn't happen, but again, that's one of those things. It's a technology thing. We didn't have it, but some of the drum fills and drum programming, it was like meant to be sounding as if a live drummer played it. But someday I think it'd be cool. I don't know if anyone would fund it, but maybe I'll have to do that on my own. We'll see. Maybe when I'm getting bored in my older years, Hey, it'd be cool to redo that. Long Night Out 2. Or it'd be another long night.
There you go.
The other records I haven't thought of doing anything with. That's the only one that it's like continually in the back of my head. I just randomly think about it. So someday.
In terms of the album itself in 12, how do you come up with your song order and your song names for the album?
A song order, it doesn't happen until I get every song mixed, or at least close to mixed, because you can't tell, I can't really tell how the song is fully going to end up until that point in terms of sonic quality. In the demo stage, I can't do it because, you never know what's going to happen with extra recording or, let's change this or that, or, the way the mix comes out could totally change the sound of it, sort of. So once it gets mixed, I'll then take each song, put it into iTunes, and randomly flip songs around until I'll play the tops and bottoms of each song and see which one flows into the next nicely. And there's two major factors that go into it. One of them is the key of the song. You don't necessarily want to go into the same key. And you don't necessarily want to go into a key that's like way far away either. It could be jarring. So it has to naturally kind of just feel good. Number two is the tempo. You don't want to go into the same tempo, of course. Or you really don't want to go into a tempo that's just slightly slower because then it'll feel draggy. You either want to, go up a little bit or go way down.
Right.
That's what I've noticed. Like, Feeling It goes into Another Love because it goes up. Then it goes into It's Time because it goes up more. Then it goes down quite a bit to On the Floor. So I'll just experiment for a few days.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to spend some time with. It just doesn't happen quickly. You got to live with it. How does it really feel? Make a CD, put it in your car, drive around. Is it feeling good? Is it feeling natural? When the new song kicks in, do you get excited or do you get depressed? You always want to feel like, ooh, yeah. You want to get excited about the beginning of the next song. Hopefully I did a good job of that.
When you listen to it like in iTunes or any player where there's no longer the CD gaps.
Right.
You really get that sense of flow.
Yeah, exactly.
As you're going through it. So.
Now, song titles, that's a different story. Obviously, vocal songs are very easy to title, but the instrumentals are, that's been a tough one over the years. It takes me a long time to figure those out. I just got to make myself sit down and start listening to the song over and over and over and over, and then just start writing random words down that song makes me feel. I say the easiest song on this record to title, instrumentally wise, was Stay With It. It's sort of an inside band joke, my drummer says. It's just one of those funny things. If someone messes up or trips or, I don't know, I'll always say, stay with it. It just made it obvious, that song, that just kind of funky, nasty, funky, cool song. It just sounded like him, so that song got titled.
Now, speaking of that song,
yep.
Do I hear a little Bootsy Collins Yabba Dabba Doo in there?
Yeah, I sampled that off of my Funkin' Like My Father record. That's Bootsy, yep.
Nice.
I gave him a little shout-out, basically.
Yes,
seems
definitely
fitting on that song. Hopefully he'll like it. I didn't tell him. I was going to send it to him. Hey, check this out.